Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Bliss and Mischief. It's your girl, Amy. And today I'm wondering, when is the last time you actually felt rested? And I don't mean that you got 8 hours of sleep. I mean, when's the last time your brain actually shut off? Yeah, that's what I thought. You know what's wild? You can sit down, finally have a minute to yourself, and your brain is still going. Still running through the grocery list, still remembering you need to text someone back, still keeping track of 17 different things that nobody else seems to notice need doing. And then you feel guilty for being tired. I mean, you didn't really do anything today, right? Wrong. What you're carrying around is called invisible load, and it's killing you slowly and quietly, while everyone else around you wonders why you're so stressed out all the time. Today, we're going to talk about what this thing actually is doing to you, what's happening in your brain and your body when you're carrying all of this, and we're going to figure out how to put some of it down because this isn't sustainable. But I think you already know that. All right. So, here is the lie we've all been sold. If it's not visible work, it doesn't really count. Or the other version, I should be able to handle all of this without getting so stressed out. You see, we've been taught that the real work is the stuff that you can see: the cleaned house, the finished project, the cooked meal, the errands you ran. But what about all the thinking and the planning and the remembering, the keeping track of everything? What is that? It's just something we're supposed to do automatically without being worn down. And when we say we're exhausted and people look at us and go like, well, what did you even do today? We start believing them. Maybe we're just bad at managing our time. Maybe we're too sensitive. Maybe everyone else has their shit together and we're the ones screwing up. But where it gets really messed up is when we feel guilty for being tired. We feel guilty for asking someone else to remember things or keep track of stuff or figure out dinner. Because if it's not real work, then what are we even complaining about, right? Well, we keep gaslighting ourselves with this belief. It makes us doubt our own exhaustion and it keeps us quiet, overwhelmed, and running on empty while we pretend everything is fine. And here's spoiler alert: everything is not fine. Here's the truth: invisible load is real work, it burns real energy, and it can cost you so much more than you think. When you're mentally tracking everything, the schedules, the appointments, the groceries, the bills, the emotional needs of everyone around you, your brain is working constantly. It is running background programs all day long. Even when you're doing other things, even when you're trying to relax, your prefrontal cortex, that's the part of your brain that handles planning and decisions, is lit up all the time. It's exhausting that part of your brain in the same way that running a marathon exhausts your legs. And your body is paying attention too. All that mental work triggers your stress response. You get tension headaches, your shoulders are tight, you can't sleep because your brain won't turn off. You're tired in a way that rest just doesn't seem to fix. And emotionally, you're overwhelmed, you're anxious, and sometimes resentful because nobody else seems to see all of the work that you're doing. And you feel guilty when you can't keep up with it all. But here's what I need you to hear: feeling exhausted from invisible load is completely valid. You're not making up, you're not weak, and you are not failing. You're carrying a massive cognitive and emotional burden, and it's real whether other people can see it or not. That exhaustion that you feel, that is your body and your brain telling you the truth. And it's time to listen. But let's get into the science of it for a minute because I want you to really understand what's actually happening in your brain when you're carrying all of this. First up, your working memory. Research shows that it can only hold about 4 to 7 things at once. That's it, 4 to 7. But you're trying to mentally track down dozens of things, maybe hundreds. So your brain is constantly overloaded, which leads to mistakes, forgetting stuff, and straight up mental exhaustion. Then there's decision fatigue. Studies say that we make around 35,000 decisions every single day. And every decision you make drains your brain's resources just a little bit more. So by the end of the day, when someone asks you what you want for dinner, your brain is done. That's why you can't think. That's why I don't know, you pick is the only answer you've got left. And here's where it gets really serious. Chronic stress from carrying all of that mental load keeps your cortisol levels elevated. And over time, that actually shrinks your hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for memory. And it also messes with your prefrontal cortex, which is your decision making center. So the more you carry, the harder it gets to think clearly, and it becomes a vicious cycle. And then there's also something called the Zeigarnik effect. Basically, your brain fixates on unfinished tasks. It keeps them active in your mind, creating tension. That's why you can't relax, even when you sit down, because your brain is still holding on to everything that it's not done yet. And then there's one more thing: task switching. Even just mentally switching between different areas of responsibility, research shows that it can cut your productivity by up to 40%. And that can be really draining. So when I say you need to let go of some things, I'm not being dramatic. Your brain literally cannot sustain this. It's not built for it. You're not failing. The system you're trying to operate under is failing you. Okay, so what do we actually do about this? Because knowing what's happening is one thing and fixing it is another. Here's where we start. First, you've got to make the invisible visible. You have to name what you're doing out loud to the people around you and to yourself. Not in a complaining way, but in a matter of fact way. Like, hey, I'm keeping track of everyone's schedules, what we need for groceries, taking care of the bills, and making sure we don't run out of toilet paper. That's a lot of mental work to hold on to. Just saying it out loud makes it real for you and for them. Second, share the load. And I mean, really share it. Don't just delegate tasks, delegate the thinking too. If you ask someone to pick up groceries, you are still doing the mental work. You plan in the meals, checking what's needed, and making the list. Instead, hand over the whole thing. Say, you're in charge of making sure we have food this week, figure it out. And yeah, they might do it differently than you would, but let them, because that is the point. And then we're going to get out of our own heads. So use shared calendars, make lists, use apps if that helps. Whatever gets these tasks out of your brain and into a system that other people can see and access. Your brain isn't a filing cabinet, so it's time to stop using it like one. And then it's time to set boundaries and let things go. Some stuff doesn't actually need to be done. Some stuff can be good enough instead of perfect. Give yourself permission to lower the bar. Nobody is giving you a medal for remembering everything and doing it flawlessly. And then we want to schedule some actual mental rest. I don't mean scrolling through your phone. I mean time where you're not planning, not problem solving, not thinking about what needs to happen next. Even if it's just for 15 minutes, protect it because your brain needs it. But what do we do when this mental handoff doesn't work? Because sometimes you try to hand them off and it's a no go. Maybe they forget, maybe they do it a half ass way, maybe they keep coming back to you with questions until you're basically still doing all the mental work anyway. So, what do you do then? At that point, we need to recognize a real issue. Sometimes people don't take on tasks because they genuinely don't understand everything involved. They see pick up groceries as the simple thing. They don't see the meal planning, the inventory check, the budget consideration, the dietary restrictions, all of the thinking that happens before the shopping. So be explicit. Walk them through the full scope. Show them what ownership actually looks like. And then we're going to transfer the ownership, not just the tasks. Because there is a difference between, hey, can you grab milk? And you're now responsible for making sure we don't run out of milk. One is a task, the other is ownership. Make sure they understand that they're taking on the whole thing: the noticing, the planning, and the follow through. Then let go of your way And I know that this is hard, but it's so necessary because they're not going to do things the way you did. They're going to do it differently, and that's okay. If you micromanage how they do it, the mental load stays with you. You actually have to let go. Next, let the natural consequences happen. If they forget something, let them deal with it. Don't swoop in and fix it. And yeah, it might be a bit uncomfortable, but that discomfort is what teaches them to remember next time. Reach out, find support outside of the home. Talk to friends who get it. Find a therapist or join a support group because sometimes just being heard and validated makes the load feel lighter. And sometimes you need an outside perspective on whether this is fixable or not. And then maybe it's time to recognize it's necessary to reevaluate the relationship. If you've had the conversation multiple times and nothing changes, that's information. So maybe this is a deeper compatibility issue. Maybe you need couples therapy. Maybe you just need to make some harder decisions about what the relationship is really costing you. I'm not saying jump straight to that, but don't ignore it either. And finally, protect your capacity. If you can't redistribute the load, then you have to be ruthless about what you let go of entirely. What can you stop doing? What can you lower your standards on? What can you cut out completely? Your health matters more than a perfect house or a packed social calendar or whatever else you're trying to maintain. You can't do it all, and you shouldn't have to. So now you know you need rest and you need a break. But how do you actually do that when your brain won't stop running through the list? I'm going to give you 7 things that actually work. Number 1, brain dump before you rest. This is where you're going to take 5 to 10 minutes to write everything down, every task, every worry, every don't forget that's bouncing around in your head. Get it out, put it on paper or in your phone, somewhere external, because this is going to help your brain let go because the task is captured. You're not going to forget them and your brain can stop holding on to them. 2, use time boxing. Tell yourself, I'm not thinking about this until 7 p.m. tomorrow or whatever time makes sense. Having a specific time to return to the task helps your brain release it for now. It's not forever, just for this break. 3, get into your body. When your mind starts wandering back to the list, use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. And that's where you're going to name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can feel, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This pulls you out of your head and gets you into the present moment, right here and right now. Move your body. Go for a walk, do some stretches, dance in your kitchen, whatever. Physical movement helps discharge those stress hormones and gives your brain something else to focus on. Even 10 minutes makes a massive difference. And then maybe try scheduling some worry time. And I know this sounds weird, but it works. Give yourself 15 minutes a day for planning and worrying. When thoughts try to intrude outside of that time, tell yourself, I'll think about that during my worry time. Your brain learns that it will get its turn and it doesn't have to interrupt your rest. Next, practice good enough. When you catch yourself mentally returning to the list, say out loud, this is good enough for now. Then physically move. Walk into another room, stand up, change your position. Your body helps signal your brain that you're done with that for now. And finally, keep a notepad by your bed. When thoughts pop up at night, write them down. That's it. Once they're written, you can let them go. They're not going anywhere. You'll deal with them tomorrow. Look, I know taking a real break when you're used to carrying everything is a skill, but it has to be practiced in order to build on it. Your brain has been trained to hold on to everything, and you're retraining it to let go. So be patient with yourself because it will get easier. Okay, before we jump into this week's challenge, I want you to take a breath with me. Really, just pause for a second. You've been carrying so much, and I know hearing all of this might feel heavy or validating or even both. Your body has been holding on to the weight of all of this invisible work, and your mind has been running nonstop. And right now, I want you to give yourself permission to receive something instead of constantly giving. So I want to offer you this blessing. May you speak your truth with assertiveness, grace, and courage. May you be deeply rooted in the wisdom of your ancestors, guides, and angels. May you clearly see the path before you and as new challenges arise. May you learn all lessons through love and compassion. May you be intuitively connected to your higher self and may it pull you forward in times of question. May you be divinely connected to the infinite universal energy of all that is love. May it protect and strengthen you and bring you immense love, abundance, and joy. Just take that in and let your body receive it. You deserve rest. You deserve support. And you deserve to put some of this down. Now, on to your challenge for the week. I want you to pick one area of invisible load, just one. Maybe it's meal planning, maybe it's family schedule, maybe it's keeping track of household supplies, whatever feels heaviest right now. And here's what you're going to do. Step one, do a complete brain dump. Write everything down, every single thing you're mentally tracking in that area, every decision you're making, every detail you're remembering, all of it. Don't edit yourself, just get it out on paper. Next, you're going to share it. Show that list to someone, your partner, a family member, a roommate, whoever is relevant, and have an actual conversation about it. Not a look at how much I do conversation, a real conversation about how to redistribute this or systemize it. And pick at least one thing from that list that someone else can fully own, not just do, but own. Step three, brain dump before your next break. So before you sit down to rest or go to bed, take 5 minutes. Write everything down that's still floating around in your head. Get it out. Let your brain know that it's been captured. And then we're going to work on the grounding technique. So when you notice your mind going back to the list during your break, you can use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique or the time boxing technique, or you can just say good enough and move your body. I want you to pick one and actually use it. And then finally, I want you to notice and pay attention to how it feels to name this work, to share it, and to try letting it go, even if it's just for a little bit. You don't have to be perfect at this. You just have to be willing to start. I want to thank you so much for being here with me today, for taking time to listen, to reflect, and to do this work with me. It matters, and you matter. If this episode hit home for you, do me a favor, subscribe so you don't miss on what's coming next. And if you know someone who's carrying way too much on their shoulders, someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. Sometimes just knowing we're not alone in this makes all the difference in the world. So until next time, be guided by your wisdom, and may you find your bliss, Jiff.